Hey everybody, the Super Vader 400 here, back for another retro review, and this time this is my short review of the 1994 movie The Crow, starring the late Brandon Lee. Late Brandon Lee. I finished watching this film. I watched this film 3 days ago. 3 days ago, and here is my short review. I plan to rewatch it again later and do a longer, more in-depth review in the future. But here's my short review of The Crow. I first heard about this film in the early 2000s. I had this magazine called Absolute Dragon Ball Z, and inside the magazine it was announced that 20th Century Fox had acquired the rights to make a live-action Dragon Ball Z movie. This was back when I was actually into Dragon Ball Z. I saw they had a fan cast to play the characters from Dragon Ball Z, and portraying Gohan, they had the late Brandon, they had the late um, Brandon Lee, and of course one of my favorite all-time favorite professional wrestlers, Sting. The gimmick change he had in '97, the face paint, the baseball bat, and the trench coat. He got all of that from Brandon Lee's Crow character from the 1994 film, and this is also around the time I actually got to see, and I finally got to see the movie in 2006, and I loved it. And I finally just recently got a chance to watch it again, and this movie is awesome, awesome. The cast, the characters, the cast, the characters, the story, the filming style. Yeah, this film is similar to Tim Burton's Batman movie and Alan Moore's Zack Snyder's Watchmen. Watchmen. This is a film noir. This is a film noir supernatural horror superhero flick. That's what this that's what this film is. So like I said, this is my short review of this movie. Not really much to say I can say about this movie, because while the plot is basic, the plot is Eric Sarvin, what was his name? Eric Eric Draven, a musician. Eric Draven, a musician who's a musician. Him and his fiance Shelley Webster are brutally murdered by a gang led by a guy named Top Dollar, and and he gets and a crew resurrects him from the grave, and he gets resurrected as an invincible force of nature, and decides to hunt down the gang, the criminals who killed him and his fiance. And when he comes back to life, he has flashbacks of the people who murdered him. And pretty much this whole film is pretty much one giant revenge movie. Of course, as everyone knows, the only two things I don't like about this film. Let's start with the first one. This was Brandon Lee's last movie, because he was accidentally killed on set when someone during filming accidentally loaded a gun with real bullets, shooting and killing Brandon Lee. And the second thing I didn't like about this film is that most of the other scenes in this film, they use CGI technology to CGI Brandon Lee's face onto another guy during the uncompleted scenes that Brandon Lee wasn't alive to complete for. And the third thing I like about this film was that Brandon Lee was a martial artist. He really doesn't get that many martial arts martial arts fight scenes in this he doesn't get that many martial arts fight scenes. I don't remember that many. I gotta watch the film again. But he doesn't get that many film fight scenes that require martial arts ability. But then again, this is not this is not that type of action. This is not a martial arts flick. This is a film noir, horror, superhero, supernatural action flick. That's what this movie is, and yeah. But those are the only two things I didn't like about this film. But this film right here is awesome, and I had no idea that this film right here was a franchise. This film has three sequels, which none of them look good. None of them look good. Three sequels and a TV series that sounds really good. A TV series centered around The Crow sounds really awesome, and they're now planning a reboot. They're now planning a reboot. This film is also loosely, much to my surprise, this is loosely based on a comic book, which I had no idea. I thought The Crow was completely original, but no, this is based on a comic book. And for the most part, this film, while changing a lot of things, this film was, for that time, was remarkably true. Was for the most part true to the comics. If they do reboot it, I hope they go closer to the comic books. Like I said, awesome film. The only thing I hate was that Brandon Lee couldn't complete all his scenes. Wasn't alive to complete all his scenes, and the fact that this had to be his last film. So if he did make this film, he probably would still be alive today. So yeah, but one good thing that happened from this film was that this movie and Brandon Lee's other movies saw a surge in popularity after he's died. That was probably one good thing. You became more popular in death than you were in life. Like I said, this was my short review of The Crow. Such an awesome movie. Gonna rewatch it again to understand the plot more and do a longer, more in-depth review. Alright, I'm done.